Hello YouTube friends and welcome to my channel. If you're new here, my name is Deidre from Our Upcycled Life and I do lots of thrifting, upcycling, repurposing, and DIY content. Love new crafting friends. So make sure you like, subscribe, hit the bell for notifications so you don't miss any great DIY content. I'm in my shed today doing some upcycling and I have 4 upcycled projects I'm doing today that were found at the dump. These are fantastic finds and I'm excited to show you what I'm going to do with them and how I'm going to upcycle them. The first thing that I have is this old vintage window. One of the panes of glass is broken, but that's okay. I can work around that. We're going to clean that up and upcycle it. The other upcycle is this little kid's chair. It's really chippy and kind of in rough shape right now. Needs to be cleaned up. I'm going to upcycle it. And it's really sturdy, so I was excited when I found it. What the heck was I going to do with this? But when I saw them, I had to bring them home. It's 2 legs off of a table, but the legs are really dirty right now, but they're the glass balls and the metal claws. So I'm gonna clean this up. I have a fantastic idea of what I'm gonna do with this, so stay tuned for that. And this was the best find, a rocking chair. It's really in good shape. It's sturdy. It's just been really weathered. So I'm going to give it some TLC and bring it back to life, and it's gonna be perfect on my porch. I was so excited when I found this chair. It's in really good shape and it's still really sturdy. I am going to preserve this paint. I try really hard to achieve chippy paint like this, so I'm not going to sand it down and start from scratch when this is what I usually try to get on most of my projects. I'm just going to take a 220 sandpaper and just sand the entire chair and bring some of that lighter teal up from underneath. When it was all finished being sanded, I put some black chalk paint on the base of the chair just to kind of neaten it up because it was kind of blotchy in different colors underneath. I'm going to seal it up with some polyacrylic sealer and it will be ready to display on my porch. This is going to be covered with a roof over it. If I was going to have it out on a deck and exposed to the elements, I would seal it with an outdoor polyacrylic sealer. I love the chippy layered look that I achieved just by doing a little bit of sanding, and it is gorgeous. Next project, we're going to work on this window. The one pane of glass was broken, but that's okay because I can work around that and it'll just give it a little bit of character. I've cleaned it all down with some soapy water and some TSP just to get any grease and grime off of it. And again, like the chair, it has a fantastic chippy finish and I want to try to preserve that. I scraped off any loose paint chips, washed it down with soap and water, and then once it was all dry, I sealed it up with some polyacrylic sealer. Once that was all dry, I'm taking my Windex on those window panes and I'm making sure it's nice and squeaky clean for the next step. I had these stencils and they fit perfect right in those square panes. I'm going to spray on some spray adhesive so I can place the stencil in that glass and it won't move around when I paint it. And using my stencil brush, I'm going to paint with my black chalk paint. And once it was dry, I'm going to peel that stencil off and I'm going to repeat that process on all of the other panes. I love using the spray adhesive because it keeps that stencil nice and firm in its place. Once it's all dry, we're ready to use the Mirror Effect spray paint. I love this stuff and I've been using it on a lot of projects and the effect is fantastic for creating an antique looking mirror. I've taped off all the wood with some painter's tape. When you're using the Mirror Effect spray, you have to have a solution of 50% vinegar and 50% water. I've just put some in my spray bottle and I'm going to spray on the Mirror Effect, a light coat, and then I'm going to take that water and vinegar mixture and just spritz it on that wet spray paint. Once it's sat for about 30 seconds, you're going to take a paper towel and just dab at it. You're just going to dab wherever there was that vinegar and water mixture. That paint is not going to stick and it's going to give it that mirror vintage effect. I'm going to do 2 coats on this mirror, doing the same process. You can spray the vinegar water before you spray or after you spray, I don't find it makes that much of a difference. Everything is completely dry now, and it already is starting to look fantastic, but we're going to put some black paint on the back of this over top where we put the spray paint, and that will let the mirror show through better. Just putting one coat of my chalk paint over all 4 of those panes and then peeling off the painter's tape, and it is all finished. If you haven't used this Mirror Effect spray paint, you should give it a try. I'm almost obsessed with it with all of the projects that I've been using it on. I'll put a link down below in the description so you can grab some for yourself. And what a great dump find. Now to tackle this table leg. It has that metal claw foot and the glass ball inside. It is absolutely gorgeous, and I wanted to incorporate it into a vintage antique looking sign. I had this rusty chain, and we're going to use that to hang the sign from the table leg. To make new wood look old, I like to take a hammer all around the outside and put dings and chips and holes in it before I paint it. I'm going to use some candle wax all around the outside. Wherever you put candle wax, the paint's not going to adhere, and it just gives it an extra level of layers. First coat, some of my black homemade chalk paint. I always like to start with the darkest color first. Now we're going to start layering up some colors. The first I'm going to use is this green acrylic paint. I really like creating a crackle finish with hairspray. So after that acrylic paint has dried, I'm going to put a really good coat of hairspray all over that board. And then when it's dry, I'm going to put the next layer, which is this orange, and then put another layer of hairspray on. Hold tight. I know this looks funky, but it's going to be worth it in the end. I wanted a little bit more of that green color, so I'm just kind of putting speckles of it all over the top of that last coat of hairspray, just brushing it on dry, and then I'm going to put on my last coat, which is some white chalk paint. Now to get that crackle to activate, I use my heat gun. I use it on the low setting, and you'll see as I dry, those crackles are already starting to appear. It creates a really fine crackle. It's such a fantastic way to make a new piece of wood look old. And then I'm just going to take my scraper, and anywhere there was candle wax or different layers of paint, it's going to bring up those different colors. And I like to use a stencil brush, dip it in a little bit of water, and just brush away some of that top coat so it looks more aged and gives you those 3-dimensional colors. I'm going to finish it off, sanding it with an 80 grit sandpaper. And we've taken a piece of brand new pine and made it look antique and old. Now we're going to turn this into a sign. I'm using my Mod Podge reverse graphic transfer method. I've printed these graphics off on my LaserJet printer on regular computer paper. If you want to try this technique, make sure you remember to reverse your text. If you want to create one of these signs for yourself, this graphic is available in my Etsy store. Make sure you use the code SAVE50 so you can get 50% off all of my graphics in the store. The sign has sat for 24 hours. I'm taking a little rag with a little bit of water on it and just dampening them so you can just start to see the graphic show through the paper. And then you rub the paper off and you're left with a fantastic graphic on your sign. And this is what I created with that table leg from the dump. I think it worked perfect with this sign, and it looks old and vintage and antique. I still have the other table leg, and I think I'm going to make another sign like this because I love this one. I'm ready to tackle this gorgeous rocking chair. I couldn't believe when I found it, and it's actually in really good shape. The wood's kind of dried out and the caning is a little bit brittle, but I'm pretty sure I can save it. The first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to take it and wash it all down with some TSP, get it nice and clean, and then take a sanding block to it, a 220 grit, just to knock off any high edges or any little bit of stain or paint that may be left on it. I wasn't sure what products to use on it, so I took a picture of this chair and then I went to our local Home Depot. I have a fantastic painting section there and they're really helpful. And they pointed me in the right direction of what products to use. I'm going to put on some linseed oil. That will just moisturize it and help it not be so brittle and stand up better. And for the wood, I'm going to be using some penetrating oil wood finish. And I just got a clear finish. I didn't want to stain it another color. I wanted to keep it this color. So I'm really excited to get at this and see how it turns out and talk about a fantastic dump find for free. I was so excited. I got it all prepped and it's ready for the finishing oil. I used a 220 grit sandpaper over the whole thing. It worked really well. There's a few spots that it didn't come up and it left a little bit of a dark spot, but that's okay because it'll just give it character. And then we're going to put the penetrating oil on next, and then I'm going to, when that's all dry, put the linseed oil on the caning, and I'm gonna have a beautiful rocking chair. So let's get to work. So there you have the 4 completed projects that I found at the dump in the wood pile. I think they all turned out really great, and I was so happy to be able to upcycle them and make them pretty again. Let me know down in the comments which one was your favorite. Thanks for watching. Have a great day, and we'll see you in the next video. And if you love this video, I'm sure you'll love the next one.